episode number 66 with Steve Barton. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. I got a interesting show today. Doug, myself, Mike, and Carlos just got done doing a hand history review, and we took a tournament that we've actually talked about on the podcast before. It was one, I don't know if you guys have been longtime listeners, you'll remember that Eric Crane and Mike had a bit of a dynamic going for a while when they were playing on the Merge Network. And anyhow, this is a tournament. Mike and Eric got heads up in one tournament, and then Eric won. And then there was another tournament shortly after that where Mike and Eric got heads up again, and then Mike took it down. And that's the one we looked over today. So this was from May of last year that we were looking up this tournament. But it was pretty interesting. Just even in that short time, in less than a year, you can see the dynamic of how poker has evolved and changed in less than a year. Bet sizing, there's so many different little spots that we're like, okay, wow, everyone's min raising right here, which a lot of people still do, but it was extremely common back then that everyone just min raised their full range pre-flop. Sizing as far as like 3 bets was a little bit different. It was a neat review. But anyhow, at the end of this podcast, I recorded some sections of that, and then I think I'm able to pull out a hand that'll work that Carlos and I and Mike went over for the podcast. So there'll be a little snippet in there in the end of 10 or 15 minutes of us going over a hand. It was a tough spot that I was put in. Actually, I probably kind of put myself in that spot I did. I won't sugarcoat it. But, I put myself in an awkward spot where, I'm facing I'm on the river with ace high, and it's whether to bluff or not. Anyhow, so there's that one. What else has been going on? I've been extremely busy. The wife is still in Texas going through her flight training. She graduates on the 23rd of this month, so I think I'm going to drive her car out to Texas on the 18th, and then I'll get out there about the 22nd or 23rd. I'm going to take my time, make it a road trip, and just have fun, and probably stop by, play some poker along the way, and like that. So, and then I'll fly back. And she's almost done her training. She's having she's getting close. Every day they have a test. They have to score 90% or better. They get one retake. If they fail, then they're kicked out. So she's been studying, stressed out quite a bit on that. I know she's looking forward to graduating. She's going to be based in Dallas, and so that's why I'm going to be driving her car out there. And it'll be neat. After that, we're going to be able to travel quite a bit. She'll be based out there, so she's got to get an apartment. And the way it'll work is she'll try to schedule her days where she's got 6, 8, 10 days in a row where she's working, and then schedule her off days to where she'll have 6, 8, 10 days off. So she'll fly. She'll drive down to, or I'll drop her off, or we'll take Roadrunner or something, drop her off at LAX. Then she'll fly out to Dallas, work for those 6 or 8 days, then fly back to LAX. I'll pick her up at the airport, and then we'll have a week or so together. Then for the first year, every other month, she's on what's called reserve, which means that she could get called at any time during that month, and within 2 hours, she's got to report to the airport to work. So it's basically no schedule. It's just kind of on a whim for that. So for every other month, she's going to have to be based in Dallas for the first year. So we got to do that 6 times, and then after that, she's got seniority, and only the new girls have to do that. So the first year is definitely going to be challenging. I'm going to be living alone like I've been for the last month or so. Every other month, I'm going to be living alone, and so is she out in Dallas. And then the times in between, she's going to fly She's going to fly back here. We'll spend time together. Or another thing too is that we now with this job we get plane tickets for very cheap. I mean we only have to pay the taxes, so we can do flights to overseas and stuff for just a few $100. So some of our time's off. I think we should just meet up in Chicago or Miami or something. I was telling her our first vacation, let's go to Miami. I've always wanted to see it. She's seen it and she loves it, and I've heard the poker out there is just awesome. So, which I know I've talked about on here, but I want to see it. So that's what's going on with me. Been real busy. The Amazon and eBay business is going well. If you guys have seen my tweets, you can click on the link in the show notes to follow me on Twitter. But if you guys have been seeing my tweets, I've been buying a bunch of stuff at these liquidation stores and then reselling it on Amazon and doing fairly well. This is more lucrative than poker. And so I'm kind of torn because, the business aspect of Amazon is a lot of fun, and it has a lot of similarities to poker in that there's all these little tiny gambles that you have to take at every turn. So, for example, I'll go out to a liquidation store and I'll look at something. I'll look at the last one the big move that I made on there was squatty potties. I bought 150 of them. Actually, it turned out to be like 160. And if you guys don't know what a squatty potty is, if you wanna find a humorous video, look up on YouTube, type in squatty potty unicorn, and it's the only way this company could put on a commercial to advertise this product. It had to be a ridiculous, funny commercial, because what it is actually a stool that sits in front of the toilet to help you, go number two easier. And what it does is, if you can picture sitting on the toilet, we've all sat on the toilet, then you have a stool in front of the toilet where you put your feet on, where they're up either 7 inches for the short ones or 9 inches for the tall ones, and it makes it easier to go. My wife and I use one. I just gave one to our roommate. He likes them too. Who else did I've got so many of them. I gave one to the mailman, my gardener, and the UPS guy that always does the shipments for Amazon. They all love them too. But anyway, so I come across these squatty potties, and where the gambling comes in is I look at it and it's an auction. And me and a whole bunch of other bidders bid on this stuff, and then we'll resell it. And so I look at these squatty potties, and they're sold in packs of 10, for each, and figure out your per squatty potty cost. They sell on Amazon for $25. If I can get it for $5 and then clean it up and ship it out there, then I'll make, $6 or $8 on each one. And that's pretty much the gist of it, is you have to make a calculated guess as to, is this product going to sell? How much am I going to be able to sell it for? And how fast is it going to sell? Because for every cubic foot of space that you have in their warehouse, they're charging you for that every single month. And if that product is sitting in their warehouse longer than 6 months, then you get charged even more. And if it's in the warehouse for longer than a year, then you get charged even more. So there's all these little calculated risks and gambles that come with this business, and it's highly addictive, and it's a lot of fun. I'll come across these mattress toppers, those foam, memory foam mattress toppers that'll go over your bed, and it makes it more comfortable to sleep on. Some of those I'm able to get for just a few dollars, and they resell on Amazon for several hundred. So it's fun. It's cool. I dig it. It's neat to be providing a service where people are obviously using your stuff because they're buying it, and they're not returning it. And there are some returns. About 3% of everything you sell is going to be a return, regardless of what you do. People buy it the night before when they're drunk, and then when it shows up at the door a week later, they're like, what was I thinking? And they'll return it. Sometimes stuff just, UPS, it gets dropped and broken, and it has to be returned. So that kind of goes into your calculations too. But by and large, and I've been doing this for over a year with my wife, just by myself for the last month. It's been extremely profitable. I'm actually looking at buying a truck, because when I go to pick up this stuff, I just have a little Honda Civic, and my wife has a little tiny Mercedes, and it's getting. I'm having to do 2 trips, and the car is completely packed. I mean, it's not safe to drive. I can't even see the mirrors. So I have to take these little back roads home where I know the traffic and know the lights and stuff instead of going on the freeway because I have so much crap in my car that I can't safely see out of the mirror. So I need a truck. I need some kind of little pickup. A bigger one would be ideal, just because then I can start buying pallets as well. Sometimes they'll sell pallets of, a pallet of pillows, and I look in there, and each of the pillows is just a great deal. And if I can get it for the right price, but I can't move that much product right now. So I think the next step for the business is definitely getting a truck, and then after that, getting an employee. So I don't have to move. I don't have to process everything myself. If I had one employee where I could go pick up the stuff, bring it back to the house. I've turned my garage into like a quote unquote processing center actually, and so have one kid working there until we finish and ship it off. I think that's the next step with the business. As far as poker, I've been, before what I was doing a few months ago was I was trying to find little snippets of time where I could play poker, and I noticed I was never completely focused. And so what I'm doing now is I'm playing every Sunday. If it turns out that I have to work at the fire department on a Sunday, then I just bump it either to a Saturday or a Friday or whatever works. But I've been grinding one day solid. I'll start at about 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and I've got all my meals set aside and everything, and I usually finish anywhere from 7, 8 o'clock at night to midnight, depending if I go really deep in some of those, some of the tournaments that have 1,000 people in them or whatever. But I've been doing that on Sundays. I've been coaching and getting coached on Wednesdays. And those are kind of my 2 poker days right now. The podcast I've been recording, today's a Tuesday. This will come out next Monday. But, with the podcast, I've been I don't necessarily have a set day as far as recording. But as far as playing and coaching and getting coached, that's been working out really, really well. And so far I'm on track with my New Year's resolution, playing at least 10 hours a week. Some weeks it's 8 hours, other weeks it's 12, but I've been averaging 40 hours a month. And then with the coaching and getting coached too, that has definitely increased my confidence, definitely, when I'm playing. Let's see, what else is new? As far as what's new with the podcast, I've got a couple of guests in mind. One that really intrigues me, she's a pro from Poland. She has her own podcast, and I'm looking forward to getting her on. She's basically kind of like a me in Poland. She has her own podcast. She talks to a bunch of online grinders and the like, and she has her own Twitch stream, and she just grinds stars all day long. I think she said her limits are up to something like $30 tournaments, and then she basically just plays a whole bunch of 180 mans and sit and goes and stuff. So that'll be interesting. It'll be neat to talk to somebody from across who's able to play on Poker Stars and what the life of a grinder there is as opposed to the American sites. So that'll be an interesting interview. I also want to get Greg Raymer on. I'm trying. I'm working any contacts I can possibly work to get him on. There's another pro. His name's Ben Hales. I'm going to get a coaching session by him here shortly, and then ask him to come on the podcast. He has his own podcast called the Post-Flop Poker Podcast. Pretty good. Very, very good strategy. Very good strategy in that one. And there are a couple of English guys. The dynamic between them is pretty funny, but definitely very good for strategy if you guys haven't heard of that one. And one other guy I want to get on is Carter Myers. He's you guys probably heard us talk about him before on the podcast. Is Frank and the Boys is his screen name on ACR, and he's just absolutely killing it on there. I've tweeted at him a couple of times. Haven't heard anything back, so if you guys wouldn't mind throwing out a couple of tweets to Carter Myers and see if we can get him to come on the podcast. My tweets might just be getting lost in his notifications and he never sees it, or I don't know. What else is new? Oh, as far as our editor, you guys know Sarah wasn't quite working out. real nice girl, had a great heart, but just was not cutting it as an editor. I don't know if it was maybe I wasn't communicating what I wanted as well. I don't know, but it just wasn't working out. So we had to let Sarah go. But we now have Andrew on the podcast. He's from the UK, so welcome to the team, Andrew. He's been editing the last several podcasts, and I've had a couple of guys write in and say that I like it a lot better now that Sarah's gone and you're editing the podcast instead. And I said, well, actually, I'm not editing it. Someone else is. They're like, oh, awesome. Well, it sounds really good. I'm like, okay, cool. So you're kicking ass, Andrew. Keep it up. Let's see. I think that's about it as far as what's been going on. I did get an email. Okay, so we got a hand from a listener. This is from Marcelo. And he says, I played in a live tournament starting stack 5K. Blinds were $25.50. I just got an email from him. He said the buy-in was a $40 buy-in, $40 buy-in tournament. Okay. I have King 5 of clubs in the small blind. And complete the 50 big blinds since no raise happens, 8 players. Okay, so basically there's at a full-handed table, we have 8 players going to see the flop. Everyone's limped. Okay, so Hero limps in the small blind with King 5 of clubs, which I like. That's very good. And the big blind checks, and we go to a flop with a pot of 400. We got King 5 of clubs and starting stack of 5K. Okay, I had 35.75 to start the hand. Okay, so you start the tournament with 5K, but Hero has 35.75 to start the hand. And the flop comes 8 of clubs, 4 of clubs, 5X. Okay, so again, we've got King 5 of clubs. And we flop middle pair with a flush draw. So I had a pair and a flush draw, yes. I check, and so does everyone else. Okay, here, as far as the check, I like the check a lot. I don't think that there's any reason to bet out here. Yeah, you've got a great hand, one that you want to go with, but with 8 players in the pot, somebody's going to do the betting. Then you can learn a lot of information by checking and seeing what all these other 7 players do than you can by betting out and seeing what they do when they call or raise you. So there's just going to be some sticky spots by betting out, and I think that by checking here, definitely. Good move. So we check. So does everyone else except for the button. The button ruins the party, and he bets 350. So into a pot of 400, he's betting almost pot. And this is where where the decision comes in for Hero. He says, I tank and see how much money is in the pot. What would you do here? So we got 750 in the pot, and we have 35.75 behind. The button has 5,500. So he's got us covered. The effective stacks are 35.75. What to do here? I thought this was a really interesting spot. And so what I did was I posted this up to Tournament Poker Edge. I put it up there, and I wanted to see what some other guys would reply and what they would say. And we're in luck here, Marcelo, because you got 2 responses, and both of the responses, one is from a pro who also has a poker podcast. His name's Matthew Hunt, and the other one is another pro who also has a poker podcast, and his name is Andrew Brokus. And then you got me. So you got 3 responses to this hand. By 3 pros who all have a poker podcast. So I think we're all pretty much in agreement here that we just like a call. Matt illustrates a point that I had thought of at first about raising. And my thought to raising was make it about 1,000 maybe. But then you're also kind of put in these spots where now if it folds around to the button, which we likely would think that it would, when that happens, I think he can really play very good against your range. He's going to get it in with hands that beat you, and I don't think he's going to tool out here with, he could have a worse draw that he's trying to get it in with, but I don't know. Without the nut draw, I'm just not feeling this. So Matt talks about that. He said, I'm sure some people would raise here to around 1100, but I don't like that too much. If you raise, you're likely to get called rather than re-raised. And there are very few turn cards on which the button is likely to fold a better hand than yours. So you're inflating the pot and forcing yourself into an awkward turn bluff, which probably isn't going to work. I agree. I agree with that. Check calling still leaves you plenty of options, even with the awkward bet/stack sizes. So I'd go with that. I suppose check shoving is theoretically an option, even if there's a fair amount in the pot already. But I think the button really folds given the big bet sizing, and your equity versus their bet call range probably isn't good. I agree with that. I think if you shove here, I think most villains are going to call, with hands that got you beat, and they're going to fold with hands that that you're beating. So I like a call here. I like a call. Andrew also writes in. He says, a clear call in my opinion, and good flop check. Only reason I'd raise is if I had some reason to think villain would make a super nitty laydown with top pair or something. But you're pretty far ahead of his bluffs, and although you aren't far behind his value hands, you aren't likely to make them fold either. To the extent that people are inclined to raise here, I find that's based more on, quote, I don't like playing turns, than on any clear idea of where the value in raising comes from. Yeah, so I think so too. I think it's a good. I think it'd be a good call here, and take it from there. Then go to the turn. We have the results to this hand, and I didn't post it in the forum. And the reason is because Hero gave me the results, and Marcelo did. And what actually happens here is Hero shoves. So Hero shoves all in, and the button tanks for a while, and then he finally folds, and he shows pocket fives when he folds. So the villain flopped a set, and he folded it. That is extremely rare, Marcelo, and a hand that, you pick 100 villains out of this spot, and maybe 1 out of 100, if even that, would fold a set of fives there. I would not rely on that. I would not. I mean, this kind of goes into what Andrew was saying. Now, look at what Andrew was saying. Only reason I'd raise is if I had some reason to think villain would make a super nitty laydown with top pair or something. So a super nitty laydown would be laying down an 8. Laying down a set is just asinine, and you're very fortunate that he did lay that down, and I think the vast majority of the time you're just better off calling here. Thank you for submitting the hand. Very cool. If you guys are interested in joining a training site, I know we were talking about this with Mike last week, but I think the number one thing you can do for a game, if you want to get better and you can afford it, is get a coach. That would be hands down the best way to get better. Second to that, I think, is joining a training site. So if tournaments is your game, then Tournament Poker Edge is the best one for it. And I'll put a link in the show notes. I'll copy and paste this. And Marcelo, you can go right here to this hand, and you can check out and see what people wrote. If you guys have not joined a training site yet, if you want to join, find your specific game. If you want to play live cash, they have training sites for that. If you want to play live MTTs, they have training sites for that. I mean, pick your specialty, and if tournaments is it, then you can't get any better than Tournament Poker Edge. I mean, this is a perfect example. I posted this hand yesterday, and this morning when I woke up, 2 pros had responded to this. I mean, for $30 a month, you really cannot beat this site. They have videos that come out every single day, and it's a pro walking you through some spot in a tournament, or a tournament from start to end. And if it wasn't for this site, I really believe that we wouldn't even have a podcast, because I started posting in here. This is how I met Mike. This is how I met Mark. This is how I've met all these guys. And look at where we are now. Just a couple of years after joining this site, I joined in January of 2014. Just in a couple of years of that, like this morning, I had a hand history review with Carlos Welch, Mike Snyderman, and Doug Lyford, all guys that have been on the podcast. And, this really wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this site. Yeah, so I'd highly recommend it. If you guys are on the fence of signing up for a training site, if you could use the link in the show notes, I'd really appreciate it. It would kick a little portion of your monthly membership back to the podcast. And, well worth it. I would stop putting it off. So thank you to Matt and Andrew for writing in. That was cool. And so I think that's about it. We'll segue into the strategy. It's with Mike and Carlos, and then we'll close it out from there. All right. So quick break, and then on to strategy.
I got supersonic speed that I used to run to you. I stretch my arms for miles and miles and wrap them all.
Okay, it's okay. So it's the first hand of a Bovada tournament. We got let's see, Ace 5 suited on the button. So we got Ace of Spades, 5 of Spades. The blind levels are 5,100. I came in a little bit late into this, and so blind levels 5,100. Ace 5 suited on the button. I raised to 222.
What's the buy-in?
The buy-in is 33.
Okay.
So this is the 5K stack.
5K starting stack, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got 50 bigs, Ace 5 suited on the button. I bump it up to 222. The small blind folds and the big blind calls, and we're both right about even. I can't remember who's if I've got a little bit more or if he's got a little bit more, but I remember we both had about 50.
Okay.
And so I bump it up. He calls out of the big blind. We go to the flop. We got 492 in the pot. And the flop is Queen of Spades, 6 of Clubs, 4 of Spades. And we've got Ace 5 of Spades. So we flop, the nut flush draw with an overcard. I guess a backdoor straight draw. And villain checks to us.
Okay. Hold on. It was Queen of Spades, 6 of what?
6 of Clubs, 4 of Spades.
Okay. I'm probably betting roughly half.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
You guys think about that? Okay. Yeah, I'm trying something. Well, this session specifically, I even wrote a note on my computer. I'm like, okay, I don't remember if it came from listening to a podcast or where this came from, but I'm like, I'm going to start varying my bet size quite a bit here. I'm going to do between 30 and 110% pot. And I'm just going to kind of arbitrarily try to find spots where I would normally bet a third or half, and then just for whatever reason, just start betting 80% pot and just see what happens. And I think this is only the first hand, so I guess maybe I'm staring at that list. But so into 492, I bet 388.
Okay.
And villain calls. So we got.
What do you do if he raises there? You going to shove and just accept variance for what it is?
I don't know. What do you guys think? If I make it 388, if he makes it like 12 or 11 or something, or if he raises me, do we just ship it?
I don't think he's raising with the intention of folding. So I'm either shoving there, expecting to get value from worse flush draws and straight draws, or stacking off to a queen with a lot of equity. So my thought is, if he has a draw, he's not folding, and I'm ahead of those anyway. So I'm going to think, what can I do to possibly get him off of a queen? I may just call and then, shove over him on some Like if the flop is a king or something, maybe I'll like try to get him off that way.
You mean if the turn is a king?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, which is very rarely going to happen. So I'm thinking, and it may be more beneficial just to get it in on the flop to get value from those worst draws.
Okay.
To try to bluff him off of a queen. So maybe I'll do it just because I have the nut flush draw. If I had a weaker flush draw, I would not be trying to get it in on this flop.
Okay. Okay. All right. What do you think, Mike? Same logic?
Well, if he raises, I'm getting it in on a fucking $33 tournament every time. Yeah. Or well, any tournament if I can rebuy. But, yeah, I mean, of course, Steve, I never know what I'm doing. So, but when you said I'm looking for spots just to arbitrarily change the bet size, like that won't really hold up to scrutiny. Of course, you gotta have true. Like you gotta have you fucking Lee Harvey Oswald with okay, which way should I shoot the thing here? You know, you just totally capricious in your decision making. Yeah, if I bet big here, I'm probably going to bet big on the turn too, though. I'm just trying to think of how this hand plays out with you betting big and inflating the pot right away when you don't yet have a hand.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not terrible. You got a big hand, and you're going to find out where he's at pretty quickly here, I think, right? With the sets or any big hand, he's going to raise probably a lot here with the draw out there.
I would think so.
I don't know. It's not a mistake what you did for so sure. So he calls. What do we put him on here?
I was thinking, like Carlos said, a draw, a queen, or maybe pairs in between sixes and queens, maybe like sevens, eights, nines, tens, jacks. I would think he would probably 3-bet with some of those hands, but some players don't, pre-flop.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out the Bovada player pool because I just never know what the hell's going on there.
In addition to all that, he could also have like King Jack because it is Bovada. 9-8. Like they float all kinds of shit.
Yeah, Jack 10.
Yeah.
They float all kinds of shit. Yeah, you're right. They do. They do. It's
okay.
I've had to adjust. I play a lot tighter on Bovada than I do on ACR. Are you guys the same?
I just double barrel more, and but if I don't feel like I have a spot where I can double barrel, I don't even see bet.
Okay.
Yeah, you see so many hands multi-way too to the flops. It seems on Bovada is my one observation here. So
yeah.
Okay, Steve, what's the turn card here?
Okay, turn is the 6 of hearts. We got 1,268 in the pot. So hero, we got ace of spades, 5 of spades. The turn is the 6 of hearts. So the board is now queen, 6, 4, 6. Still 2 spades out there. And villain leads out for 500 into a 1,268.
I was going to say that's not a good flop for your hand just because if he has a pair, he's unlikely to fold now, obviously.
Yeah.
The lead feels weak, though.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. If
With
he
the
had
sizing?
a queen, sizing and just donking in general, like if he has a queen, wouldn't he want you to keep betting?
Yeah.
Does he think you're going to check back with something that's going to call this? Got to try to get inside of his head, like why is he leading and why is he doing it for this sizing? A random Bovada fish is probably not thinking that deeply, but they have some reasoning for doing what they do. We just got to figure out what it is.
Well, the donk lead right there is effective because people say, because the villain will always say, well, if he hit trips, he would never lead out. He would make me do the betting. But like for me, I'm donk leading a lot there if I had king 6 because I just want to build a pot.
Right. But I think he may fold a lot of 6s given how big we bet the flop. But I don't know. And he shouldn't have a ton of 6s in his pre-flop range. But again, I don't know. It's Bovada. Generally, to me, it seems like a weak queen at this point, or a flush draw, or some draw trying to, set his own price. So
Okay. Yeah, like 3-5 or 5-7, something like that.
I don't think he's ever folding a queen though to a raise. I don't know, man. I'm ahead of all the draws, and I don't think I can make him fold better. I may just call.
Okay. What are you thinking, Mike?
That sounds about right. I mean, a lot of time, if I had pocket eights in this spot, I might actually raise. Just because I don't want to call up, kind of name my price for the river. If I think the guy's full of shit a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like I get perfect information if I make it 1444. And he shoves, then I fold. Maybe that's stupid if you think he's going to do that with a draw. But with this hand,
okay.
But with this hand, yeah, I think it's I would probably just call.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking the same exact thing. I called. We go to the river, 2268 in the pot, and the river is the 8 of clubs. So the final board is Queen 6-4, 6-8, and the flush didn't get there, so we got ace high. Villain checks, and the pot's 2268.
I'll probably check, expecting to win a good bit of the time.
Okay.
I think.
He's just showing up with Jack 9, Jack 10, King Jack just way too often, you think? Or?
I'm thinking like busted spades, 5-3, 7-5. Like he just wanted to try to see his card for cheap. And I mean, so that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is he has a queen, but he's not folding that if we bet anyway. Yeah, unless you want to be like Mike and go like 3K here. Maybe he folds a queen.
The only way is if he had like somehow had pocket sevens or something or whatever, pocket threes, he'd fold that.
Right.
So there's a couple pocket pairs you get him to fold.
I don't know if he bet those on the turn though. Like would he bet threes on the turn?
That's something I do. I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of goofy ass shit, but that's something I will do there on the turn. Yeah. Just because I think I'm still good, but I don't want to. If I think the guy's going to double barrel, with his king high, I don't want to call and then have a river shot, Right. But yeah, pretty much, yeah. If you bet here, he's always folding worse and always calling with better, I would say. So there's no point in betting.
Okay.
If he shows up with,
is he ever folding sevens or? I mean, would he play like, what would that be? 3s, 5s, 7s, 9s, 10s, or jacks this way? And would he fold to a river bet?
I don't think any of those hands bet the turn, except for maybe like, you can say like 9s or 10s maybe bet the turn, but they're not folding to a river bet. And like 7s and 3s, like hands like that could probably fold to a river, but I don't think they're betting the turn.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a check on the river.
Yeah. I mean, again, I wouldn't be, you never know what someone has. He could have a pair there, but just because he has pocket sevens doesn't mean he's not going to call either.
True.
And even if he has like 8-7 of spades, and he got there on the river, he's probably not folding it to a bet. To me, the only hands that he's folding to a river bet are the hands that you're already ahead of.
Yeah.
Unless it's like ace jack. So I can maybe see like a small river bet to try to get him off of like better ace high.
Okay.
But since that's the part of his range that I'm targeting, then I'm going like super small, like maybe like 200.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, not 200. That's
that'd be a tenth of the pot. The pot's 2260.
I'm looking at the wrong number on my little notepad here. I'm probably going like maybe 500 if I want to get him off of like ace jack. But hell, he may even call that. Who knows, man?
Okay. All right. Yeah, this one just felt funky, and I felt like I went wrong somewhere. But yeah, I think it was. I ended up betting the river in 2268. I bet 1800, and he folded. But yeah, after I was kind of thinking that what you guys are is that he's. I think that's just a spot where, he's calling and he's never folding a queen there, right?
Right.
He's probably not even folding an 8 if somehow he rivered that. And in game at the moment, I was thinking like, okay, I can get him to fold 7s, 9s, 10s, jacks here, maybe even some like pocket 5s if somehow he showed up with those.
Well, he would be folding those hands. So if you're bet, but like Carlos said, very few people are going to be donk leading the turn with those hands. That's like a very small part of his range there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Right on.
But the typical, the gauge of how you look at the river betting is you want to be able to have him call with worse or bet or fold better, and basically in that spot you're never going to do either. So.
True. Okay. Right on.
Okay, boys.
All right, man. You guys.
I gotta take a nap here.
Hey, nice.
I got supersonic speed that I used to run to you. I stretch my arms for miles and miles and wrap them all.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. You guys can check out Carlos and Mike on Twitch. They both have a Twitch channel. Carlos is up. Let me get this right. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay, so that'd be 8 a.m. Pacific time. And Mike is twitching on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday night at 6:30 Pacific time. So if you're on the East Coast, then that'd be 9:30. If you're in the UK or Australia, you're going to have to add or subtract from there because I just don't know. But that's what time they're up. If you guys want to check them out, they're both very entertaining. If you want a free MP3, it's a free hypnosis tape to listen to before you play your next session. It's a little 7-minute tilt buster. I swear, just try it. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you don't like it, then it was free. Okay, but I really believe in this. And I know you guys do too, because you're getting the MP3s and you're seeing the value in it. If you do get one, make sure you use the code HeadsUpPoker. It'll get you a discount, and it'll kick back a little bit to the podcast. But check it out. Just click on the free MP3 link in the show notes. It'll take you straight to the download page. You can listen to it on your iPhone or your Android or whatever you've got. BlackBerry. Probably not if you have a flip phone, though. I don't think it'll work on one of those. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, and here is your weekly motivational speech.
Before you make decisions, pick up a book and read and understand that every success has a seed.
Only because behind that success is a patient individual who did his work and is able to lead. But I'm not a born leader. What a poor excuse. And those things called excuses get you 0% closer to your goal.
The greatest leaders lead from the back. A humility that is so powerful, it makes the impossible possible.
Their light is so dim, it's luminescent. Their footsteps are so quiet, they're thunderous. And their presence is so unknown, it's illustrious. As a leader, you must make your own decisions. You must fill your days with positive habits and repeatedly complete them, day in and day out. Take your mind and your heart, combine them. Dig out your passion, build greater people of that passion. Don't preach what you can't do. Whatever you do, do not be a hypocrite. Being a leader consists of work. You must lead by example.